So should we not swim because avalanches are granular flow? No evidence exists on whether swimming is or is not effective in granular flow. Experience shows that swimming, or struggling, as Martin Rodwin calls it, can help us get toward the side and tail the avalanche. And finally, if buried or if burial is imminent, keep one hand and arm pushing and clearing a space in front of your face and airway. Fight for the surface, and finally cover up by crossing your arm over to the opposite shoulder by grabbing your pack strap or collar, and stay balled up. Remember, each avalanche is different and may require somewhat of a different approach. You have to think on your feet, and no matter what, keep fighting to get to the back of the slide or the avalanche into the surface of the snow. Now, it's taken me a long time to talk about my mistakes in public, because who wants to be with a guide who's been in a lot of slides? I mean, it's my business. But this particular avalanche was a monster, and it happened in the early spring of April 2000. And this is called Clue Land, and it's along the Copper River. This is a massive mountain. And we had been skiing northeast. We'd been skiing on the northeast, which is sunlit. And then the ship went out for fuel, and I decided, I was lead, to change aspect, which always requires more pits, more stability tests. So having done that, I decided to take the groups into this zone here. It's a northwest slope, and it has a lot of terrain features. So thinking that it would be defendable, should there be a slide, it would split apart, flows would break apart, etc. So I first did my assessments here, and everything was good, producing nothing but slough. Compression tests were all 18, 19. Excuse me. I moved the first group down to this location, which is a flat roller. And again, these slopes are so big, you just can't make a judgment off the top. We do them in sequence. So again, spreading the group out, everybody was good. I did a hand pit this time, which I'm never very comfortable with them, but that's what I did. And I did a couple more cuts. The snow was less snow, lower elevation, there was no slough. I started skiing down along this ridge feature. The pilot was down here watching. The machine was turned off, and after about 10 turns, I felt a big settlement. And my lapel mic woke up with the pilot screaming, "Oh my God, avalanche, it's a big one." And he was, excuse me, praying. He was praying for me. I was too busy. So looking to the right, the fracture had crossed all these features. I made a run to the left. I didn't get very far before I was swallowed by the stock wall and the sets of waves. I went under immediately and was taking a hell of a beating. I used this brace technique, and in a moment I was back up on my feet and going again. My traverse was too shallow. I was overtaken again, head first. Used the brace again, bracing uphill. This time I emerged only with one ski on, but a lot of bed surface, so I took off. At that moment, down here, it's the craziest sight ever. There's a little blow up of the features. The alders and the aspens stood up in mass. It was a full-depth avalanche. In the beginning of the fall, there's clumps of snow that are caught on the upper branches, and these small trees and these wispy trees are pulled over, and then they're buried by these tons of snowfall. So all at once, this whole forest of shrubs and small aspens stood. I went into the trees, got caught by the branches, and watched the slide pass beneath me and fill the gullies. I was extremely lucky to have survived this avalanche. I did everything in my power to give myself the best chances, which was the spin and brace. But it was pure luck that the trees appeared and that I flew into them and was held in the branches. The avalanche piled up in 3 different debris fields about 5 meters deep coming out of the gullies. There was no chance to survive riding this thing out. None. So no good data on whether or not to swim exists. but swimming should not hurt and may help. And like that's Sam Senior, one of the guides of the rendezvous. What the hell am I going to do? Not if this thing slides, but when it slides. Data on avalanche dynamics in our experience suggests that it depends on a particular avalanche and where in the avalanche you are. Use appropriate gear to protect your airway and try to get to the airspace and try to get to the airspace. And I'd like to acknowledge not just TGR, but Dr. Berklin again, and Dr. Bartlett, and also Dr. Hans-Peter Marshall, Dr. Kelly Elder, and Rod Newcomb, for all your patience and persistence and patronage, gentlemen, because without those gentlemen, I don't think I'd be here today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hooey. Does anybody have any questions for Teo?
Yes. No, I did not. No, they were very early in their design, but I did purchase the very first one, which was the vest, and now they have different models. I prefer the bandolier because the pack has a 180-degree design. It comes out of the pack strap and then turns, and I have found that during the flows, those things tend to be ripped out of your neck. The bandolier does not. It's in aligned. Hope there's no Black Diamond dealer in here. You can download the cards off the page, and we have not yet currently printed them, but we will print them for distribution. If you just give me your address, I'll make sure you get a bunch of them.
What was your thinking on choosing Avalanche versus some kind of avalanche balloon?
Well, again, the point of the paper is to avoid the full ride.
But you say that...
I don't want to go into a lot of product...
No, at the beginning you're saying that's part of your kit. That's part of your self-rescue gear or your gear.
No, we don't use the balloon. I mean, it has a lot of restrictions in that... I'm worried about it in the cage, in the equipment cage. I worry about a lot of circumstances, arming, disarming. And also, through the studies that I've witnessed here in the ISSW, the balloon takes you on the full ride. You pass through slope transition, you always go to the head of the slide. Yes, sir. Brace and spin? You've used it before. Isn't it great? It's a wonderful feeling, those kayakers, huh? Yes, sir.
I was going to ask you, have you developed a methodology for how you teach these kind of procedures to your guests, other than just the theory? Is there a system where you can run them through some of those maneuvers?
Actually not. Yes, the log roll, absolutely. The side stroke, back stroke, fight like hell, yes. The brace and spin, it might be discussed, but it's not actually taught. However, every customer receives an Avalanche at the desk at the Alaska Rendezvous. Every one of them. Yes?
Brace and spin is so useful. Why hasn't someone developed a way to do it more likely?
I think this topic is just, exciting a lot of people, and we're just starting to really develop strategies. Optimally, don't get caught. I mean, we're not teaching people. It's avoidance. I mean, all these great men in here and women have developed all these assessment procedures so that we make good judgments as guides. We don't want to get caught. We don't want people to get caught. However, you have to have situational awareness. It's an environment, and we are passive, the guides are, not using explosives. So we make mistakes, and we get caught. Guides go first. And so I think a lot of this stuff is just developing from there's so much of us now. There's so many companies. There's so many people in the backcountry. So things are coming. Thank you very much.